When you write a story titled 10 Reasons the Commanders Will Be a Dumpster Fire this season, I think that's an admission when it's written from a Philadelphia Eagles perspective that they're concerned that maybe the rivalry is back on. Jimmy Kempski, Philly Voice, you can find him at phillyvoice.com, just put out a story this morning titled 10 Reasons the Commanders Will Be a Dumpster Fire this season. Subtitle, The Commanders Made It to the NFC title game last year. Do they have another run in them? He writes, this week, all week long, we're taking a negative look at each of the teams in the NFC East in detail. Today, we'll roast the Washington Commanders. To note, we will not be talking about the positives of any of the Eagles' NFC East rivals because, well, that's no fun. This will be 100% vitriolic. And yes, we'll get to the Eagles as well at the end of the series. So I like this. This is good. Let's come up with our own why 10 reasons the Eagles will not repeat as NFL champions. There's some really good stuff in here, though. Like some stuff that maybe even we would consider. But it's a good hate, sort of story. I want the NFC East to be what it used to be, and I want our team to be a part of it, which it really hasn't been for so long. It stinks that we don't play Philadelphia until week 15. All right, here are the 10 reasons, according to Jimmy Kempski of phillyvoice.com, the Commanders will be a dumpster fire this season. Number one, regression is coming. The Commanders won 4 games in 2023. In 2024, they won 12. That was the biggest win total improvement in the NFL last season. It tied for the 9th best improvement since the NFL went to a 16-game schedule in 1978. And then Jimmy spells out all of the teams since 1978 that had improvements of 8 or more wins in a season. Washington obviously went from 4-13 to 12-5, and then looked at what happened the following season. And if this research, and I don't have any reason to think that it's wrong, if this research is correct, there's only one team that went 8 games or better in terms of improvement from one year to the next, and then in the following year improved upon the previous year. The 1996 through 1998 Jets, they went 1-15 in 96. They went 9-7, an 8-game improvement in 1997. And then in 1998, they went 12-4. That was a 3-game improvement. Every other team on this list, with the exception of the 2013 Colts, which did the same as they did the year before, 11-5 to 11-5, all of them had significant reductions in wins the next year. The biggest change, the 2002 Bears went 13-3 after going 5-11 in 2001, and then they went 4-12 in 2002. The Panthers also in 2016, off their 15-1 2015 season, went 6-10. That was a 9-game change from the year before. Interesting, but if you look at some of these examples, like the 2016 Panthers, there were major injuries, especially to Cam Newton in 2016. And I bet if you went through a lot of these examples, you either had a retiring player or you had a lot of injuries. But fact remains, of the teams since the schedule got expanded to 16 and then eventually 17 since 1978 that improved in the same level of 8 wins or better like Washington did last year, the following season, all these teams, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 of the 15 teams had worse seasons. One had a better season, those 98 Jets, and the Colts in 2013 had the exact same season. So that was reason number one. Regression is coming. And by the way, this guy writes, let's also admit the 12 regular season wins were lucky. And he talks about no kicker in week 2 against the Giants, the Hail Mary against the Bears. The Saints without Derek Carr playing, and yet Washington still needed a 2-point try at the end to go awry against a terrible team. Talking about the loss of Jalen Hurts in Week 16, the missed field goal at the end of regulation with a replacement kicker against Atlanta in Week 17, the doink off the upright in the wild card round, the Lions being decimated by injury on defense in the divisional round. So that was basically number one. Regression is coming. Number two, what are these stupid trades this team is making? And they talk about Marshawn Lattimore, Deebo Samuel, Laramie Tunsil, the trades they made for those three players, right? They're essentially down to 6 draft picks. They had the second lowest draft capital in the NFL this year. They only have 5 picks in 2026. They're paying 2 of these guys a lot more money than they're worth in talking about Marshawn Lattimore and Deebo Samuel. So reason number 2 that Washington will be a dumpster fire after regression based on the typical 8-game improvement. Answer number 2 is, what are these stupid trades this team keeps making? Number three is, what are these stupid signings this team has made? And they talk about Kinlaw's $45 million in particular. That's the big one, $45 million, 3 years for a guy like that. That's answer number 3, or reason number 3. Reason number 4, good Lord, this team is old AF. Washington is, based on their 90-player roster right now per spot rack, the oldest team in the league at an average age of 27.7 years of age. But in this story, they write, I think that the perception of the Commanders from a national perspective is that they are a young, up-and-coming team because they had a stellar rookie quarterback last season. They are not. In fact, they have 30 players who are 29 years of age already or older. Here's how that compares with the rest of the NFL. Washington's got 30 players of 29 years of age already or older. Next most, 19, the Falcons, Lions, and Texans. That's 11 more. I actually didn't know that. That is kind of interesting. I mean, they're the oldest team on their 90-man. I don't know if they'll end up being the oldest team on their 53, but to have 30 players, 29 or older, and the next group of teams, second to the 30, only have 19, that is interesting to me. I don't know if it's a reason they're going to be a dumpster fire next year, because a lot of those players are exactly 29 years old or on the verge of turning 29. Number 5, among the 10 reasons Washington will be a dumpster fire in 2025, according to the PhillyVoice.com. Their pass defense will probably suck. To begin with, who's getting after the quarterback? None of their projected starting front four of Dorrance Armstrong, Dietrich Wise, Deron Payne, or Javon Kinlaw had more than 5 sacks in 2024. And then at corner, Mike Sanders still looks like a good player in the slot. He actually didn't play in the slot last year. But the 2 outside spots will be manned by a combination of a maybe cooked Marshawn Lattimore, a soon-to-be 32-year-old Jonathan Jones, and a rookie in Trey Amos. Number 6 on the list of 10 reasons Washington will be a dumpster fire in 2025, according to Philly voice writer Jimmy Kempski. Number 6. This is a good one. This is one that we've said many times. Their run defense will almost certainly suck again. During the regular season, the Commanders had the third worst run defense in the NFL in terms of rushing yards allowed per game. Among the above group of teams, which includes Panthers, Saints, Cowboys, Bears, Giants, Titans, Jags, Colts, and Pats, the Commanders were the outlier in that they had a 12-5 record, while the rest of the teams had a combined 44-109 record. By the way, that stat alone is an indication that run defense is still very important in the NFL. All right, so you take the teams that finished that were the top 10 worst rush defense. This is average yards per game. And 9 of the 10 teams combined, they all had losing records, and the combined was 44 and 109. That's a 288 win percentage. Washington was 12 and 5. The next best team among the 10 worst rush defenses in the league last year were the Cowboys at 7 and 10. I'm sorry, the Colts were 8 and 9. My fault. The Cowboys were 7 and 10. But man, that is definitely something. Rush offense and rush defense, turnover margin, of course. When you look at it at the end of the year, if you can't stop the run, or if you're really bad at stopping the run, you typically are not a good team. Washington, 100%, was an outlier last year among these teams. And, one of the reasons why, look at the other teams and their offenses and their quarterback play. Washington's the only one on the list with a top-tier quarterback. Everybody else had either bad quarterbacking or injured, quarterback situations. All right, so number 7 on the list of why Washington will be a dumpster fire in 2025, according to the Philly Voice, Jimmy Kempski. Their rushing offense is carried by their quarterback. This is something we've talked about a lot. On the other side of the ball, they write, the Commanders finished 3rd in rushing with 154.1 rushing yards per game. That's great and all, but my concern, if I'm a Commanders fan, is that Jaden Daniels led the team in rushing. The biggest fear for any Commander season going forward is Daniels going down at some point. I mean, I suppose that's true of most teams and their quarterbacks, but it's really true of Washington. Other quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, all run the ball their fair share, but none of them have to carry their team's rushing attacks like Daniels will. This is true. We've talked about this. Those other running quarterbacks, Josh Allen had James Cook. Lamar Jackson had Derrick Henry. Jalen Hurts had Saquon Barkley. They all had backs that led the way. We don't want Jaden Daniels to be the team's leading rusher in 10 games next year. Reason number 8, Washington will be a dumpster fire in 2025. The idea that Jaden Daniels will only get better is not a given. I think it is, but this is what they write. Jaden Daniels was a star player as a rookie. It would be stupid to suggest otherwise. A common sentiment surrounding the Commanders is that he is only going to get better. Meh. The following is a list of quarterbacks who recently won Rookie of the Year honors, showing their QBR in their rookie seasons and then their QBR in their follow-up seasons. Disclaimer, yes, QBR is a rudimentary measure of a quarterback, but we'll use it here for snapshot purposes. So last 20 years, quarterbacks that have won Rookie of the Year, 3 of those quarterbacks had upticks in QBR. 6 of them had downticks. We know one that had a downtick. Yeah, RG3. The 3 that had upticks were Cam Newton, Kyler Murray, and Justin Herbert. This is their weakest. This is one of their weakest of their 10 reasons Washington will be a dumpster fire. Last 2 reasons, according to Jimmy Kempski of the Philly Voice, 10 reasons why Washington will be a dumpster fire in 2025. Number 9, the reason being the Commanders converted an unsustainable percentage of 4th down conversions in 2024. The Commanders converted 20 of 23 4th down conversions during the regular season in 2024 for a conversion rate of 87%. That was the best rate of any team in the Super Bowl era, minimum 15 attempts. A big part of that was because Daniels is awesome, but also they're not matching that in 2025. I don't know if they will or won't. I would certainly say that is an outrageous outlier number on 4th down conversions. And not that I'm going to speak in terms of regression to the mean, because that's a stupid way to talk about sports. But I will say that it seems unlikely that they could go 20 of 23 on 4th downs. Lastly, Dan Quinn turtled up in the Commanders' biggest moment. This is the 10th and final reason why the Philly Voice And Jimmy Kempski, the writer, believes Washington will be a dumpster fire. And he writes, speaking of fourth down conversions, on the opening drive of the NFC Championship game, the Commanders came out in no huddle and put a bit of a scare into Eagles fans. They converted a 3rd and 6 from their own 34, another 3rd and 6 from their own 45, a 4th and 5 from the Eagles 43, and a 4th and 2 from the Eagles 28. And then on 4th and 3 at the Eagles 16-yard line, Quinn, and they write, of 28-3 infamy, of course, talking about the Super Bowl lead over the Patriots, 28-3 when he was coaching in Atlanta. He decides on the 18th play of that drive, that's enough risk for me, even though we keep converting. Let's kick the field goal. You know who was happy with that decision? Literally every Eagles fan and the Eagles sideline itself. Luvu is shown on the sideline correctly wishing they'd have gone for it on 4th down, pointing out that the Commanders were the best 4th down team in the league. While talking to his players after that drive, Eagles defensive line coach Clint Hurt said, 17-play drive and 3 points ain't going to effing beat us. The Commanders were lucky to be in the NFC Championship game in the first place, and Quinn tried to play it like they weren't the obviously inferior team, and the Eagles proceeded to put up a 55-burger on them. Yeah, that was interesting. You know, we talked about it ad nauseum afterwards. 18 plays, you got a team reeling, and you are about to, potentially convert on a fourth down on the opening drive of the game, and you settle on 4th and 3 for a field goal and a 3-0 lead. We know what happened after that. First play from scrimmage, it's 7-3 Philadelphia. Then it's 14-3 after Washington fumbles. De'Ami Brown fumbles. They were still in that game, though, man. I'm never, ever going to lose my, clarity on being down 34-23 and on the move late in the third quarter to make it 34-29 or 34-31 when Austin Eckler fumbled on 1st and 10 from midfield. I mean, Kansas City couldn't budge the football beyond midfield on their first 8 drives. Washington moved the football against the Eagles in that NFC Championship game, and what really killed them more than anything was 2 things. Their inability to stop Philly. Philly could have named their number in that game. Let's not act like the defense was ever going to get off the field if they really needed to get off the field. Philadelphia averaged 7 yards per play in the NFC Championship game. They rolled up 460 yards on 66 snaps and took their foot off the pedal at the end with 55. But the other part of it was Washington committed 4 turnovers, and those 4 turnovers stopped them from keeping pace, or at least keeping that score much more competitive than it turned out to be. But I'm never going to change the idea that Philly was the better team, no doubt, but that the final score was not reflective of how competitive the game was. So there you go. 10 reasons from Philadelphia why Washington will be a dumpster fire. Max, you read through that because you found it during the break and read through that. There are some reasons there that we've talked about in terms of why they might not win 12 games again next year.
Yeah, the my favorite is what you call the weakest reason. The Jaden Daniels will only continue to get better. A lot of the information, like Brian and I were talking about it, it's not incorrect. It just lacks a lot of context. And this is a great piece written by Jimmy here, because it's going through all these. They don't fail to make me laugh. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, look. I mean, they might regress in terms of win total. They also might be a better team and only win 10 games this year.
That's the thing. It's always comes with a harder schedule. So
right.
The regression usually happens for that reason.
Dumpster fire only happens with an injury to the quarterback. I'll say that right now. That's dumpster fire season only happens with an injury to the quarterback. If the quarterback plays all 17 or the significant majority of the 17, Washington's going to go back-to-back winning seasons for the first time since 15-16, and I think back-to-back playoff seasons for the first time since 91-92.